Welcome back, dear listeners. I hope you all had a restful Sunday. Even the clock stops ticking on Sunday. Tonight I have the story of a little girl for the clock. You're welcome to listen. Back in 1983, a little girl lived on my street. I remember her. I was even younger, only 3 or 4, but I remember her. She was a very sensitive girl, kind and caring in the daylight, but somehow sad and easily frightened when nightfall came. The older children still remember seeing her at the window of her bedroom when they played in the last few rays of the sun. They all say she was never seen outside that late, and that her face in the window always looked worried. What happened to her has become something of a local legend on this street. I don't know if I should be sharing it, but I'm going to. The story goes that whenever her parents put the little girl to bed, she begged them to keep just one light on. Just one. It didn't seem though that this was your typical childish fear of the dark. No. The little girl didn't care if the light was from her lamp or from the hall through a little crack left in her bedroom door. She didn't even care if she could see the light. She just needed to know that it was on, that somewhere in her house at least one light was left on. In the living room, downstairs, in her parents' room, out on the porch, anywhere. The little girl's mom and dad grew terribly concerned. They feared their daughter was developing a phobia, and they knew they had to do something about it, or they were afraid it would cause havoc in her life later on. All this sort of psychological talk was becoming common in the 80s. So the mom and dad decided to take turns going downstairs long after their daughter should have been sleeping and turning off whatever appliance was still emitting light. That was the plan, anyway. The first time the girl's dad went downstairs and flicked off that last lit lamp in the house, the girl woke up on the floor above. Her screaming filled the air and her mother rushed to her room. She was standing on the bed, and even by the time her father arrived, the little girl was still screaming and crying for them to turn the light back on. She begged them, please, please turn the light back on. This went on for a long time. The girl reached 9 years old, then 10. Her parents had taken her to doctors and shrinks at 3 different hospitals. Every avenue had been exhausted, from tests on her skin for acute light sensitivity to sessions with hypnotherapists attempting to reveal the ugly face in the darkness that the little girl hadn't seen but was afraid of seeing in the total absence of light. Nothing worked. Nothing but that one light, any one light, that the little girl wouldn't allow them to switch off. When the light was on, she slept like a baby, and in the end the parents gave up and just accepted this as routine. Everything was normal on our street. That is, until the night of the power outage. The whole grid went out. My house, my own parents tell me, was plunged into darkness, and all the neighbors' houses too. Folks around here still remember the little girl screaming. It carried out of her house this time and pierced the whole neighborhood like an alarm. We lit our candles and got out our flashlights, and by the time we were done, the little girl had stopped screaming. My neighbors tell me there was a bit of a camping atmosphere, everyone hunched around naked flame with their flashlights on, telling ghost stories and forgetting entirely about the screams of the little girl. The next lights anyone saw on my street were red and blue police lights flashing over our walls and windows as the cars raced past us and one by one stopped. They were at the little girl's house, the little girl who had begged her parents for light. The police gained access to the property through the broken glass panel in the back door. Shards littered the vestibule and the kitchen. Little pieces of glass twinkled in the light all the way upstairs to the parents' bedroom and then out of the parents' bedroom and into the direction of the little girl's. When police found the mom and dad, their throats had been cut. The whole bed and most of the floor was red and wet, but it was nothing a seasoned officer hadn't encountered before. Something that really did turn the even most experienced stomachs, though, was what happened to the little girl herself. I asked my parents, but they refused to tell me what happened. Apparently it was really gruesome and awful. As you can imagine, folks around here don't really talk much about the little girl who begged her parents for light. But when they do talk, some say her lifelong screaming was actually a precognition of the night when all the lights would go out. The night of the power outage. It's like she'd known, somewhere deep, deep down, that on that night a man would come and smash his fist through the glass panel in their back door. Me? I don't know. But I know enough to do a few things before I ever go to sleep. They say the little girl, or at least her spirit, is still in that house on my street. They say some nights she wanders. They say if you ever wake up and find yourself in an unusual spot in the bed, it's because the little girl who begged for light is lying next to you. If you can, don't move. Don't let her know she's there. Just reach out and turn on the nearest light. Do it before she starts screaming. What a terrifying story. Thank goodness the clock illuminates the whole room. Good night, everyone.